This section we're going to cover spindle turning, which to be honest is my forte. I'm not really a bowl turner. Now, that when I say spindle turning, that is turning between centres. The methods we have for driving them, this was the original type that we used to use in there to grip the wood. And if you notice, we've got a little nick in that particular tooth, and the idea is that if we want to take the wood out from between centres, we put it back exactly the same way. That was the idea of that.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
He's
clever.
well
This
done,
why he's a
John.
spindle turner, he's the expert.
Yeah. The other that now basically has been superseded with this one, and this is called a stab centre, and the idea is that that folds in. If I can show, push that on there. That goes in, so that, and the beauty of that is that it grips all the way round. And the other thing is, if you catch your piece of wood, it will slip. You can wind it out. So when we put it between centres, that will slip. So you can check your work on that. Right. Now, this actually, the Blue Peter thing, the thing I turned beforehand, with the centres, but if it's obviously a square piece of wood, we go from corner to corner. But if you happen to come across a round piece of wood and you wanted to get the centres of it, what you do is, using your finger there, go across and then come across again. You do it all four ways, and the piece in the middle. It doesn't matter if it works out. Can you see that? That you finish up with a small square in the middle, because that brings it down to a smaller area to get the centre on that. Yeah. Now basically, spindle turning is where you have to repeat the project that you're doing several times. For instance, that is a stool leg, so obviously I need four legs, so I've got to repeat that 4 times. Now normally I would have a bench in front of me and put that on so that I can look at it. And the other thing is, with spindle turning, we use these calipers, and so to start with we have to measure it, and I would use several pairs of these, and these two are the same size, but if you notice I've got some red paint on it so that for different sizes, when I'm repeating it, I know which one to pick up, which size it'll be. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be any good for me because I'm colourblind.
There's always an exception.
It's always him.
Right.
Do you use a pattern, John? Have you got a pattern?
Yeah, that's my pattern.
No, do you have one on wood or a cardboard
Yeah,
to follow it through?
I will be coming to that.
John, it's all right, Mark.
Yeah.
He's coming to that in a minute.
Yeah, coming to that. Right, so we've measured that, and there is a pattern, and normally it's a 10-inch stool leg. I do that because I've got that many of these, I get mixed up, and I've got the measurements on there, so I could actually set these on a roll on that, put this on there. So right, this is where it's going to be awkward for me, with this little.
Yeah. Need a longer tool rest, don't you?
Normally I like a long tool rest to cover the whole piece. So This is what we call the roughing out gouge. You can't use it for bowl turning because it's very thin there, and you could snap it on that. This is what we call a 3/4 bowl gauge, and normally the angle there is 45 degrees, but my preference is 30 on that. That is a large one, and that is the same thing but a smaller one. And this is the one that I'm going to use this time.
Is there any particular reason you pick 30, John, or do you just, that's what suits you?
It's what suited me.
Right.
I used to have the angle on before I bought the grinding jig,
Right.
and I always seem to get it at 30, and I've maintained it on
So
that.
it doesn't really matter, is it? Does it?
No,
No.
no.
Because I think a lot of the novice turners are fixated on the right angle, and there isn't a right angle, is there?
There isn't a set angle
correct angle.
because it's what suits you. Now the thing is, you must lay the tool on the tool rest, and you bring it so that the back end sits on the wood, and then you gradually lower it until it starts to cut. You see that? You're happy with that? And now somebody's going to ask me about the speed.
John, what about the speed?
Like I said, somebody was bound to ask me. The thing is, if you have it running slow, then you can hear the difference in it. When you cut in, when you speed it up, you can hear the difference. Right. This is where we use calipers on there, like that. That's supposed to stop the lathe.
Yes.
It's always safer to stop the lathe before you move it. Right, now then, can you pick that up on the camera where it's rough? You see the ridges
Yep.
on there.
That's how your work normally is though, John, isn't it?
And this is where we use what we call the skew chisel, and everybody seems to be frightened of these. Now there's several types of skew chisel. This is I would say an older type where the edges are rather square or sharp, and the problem with them is that if I was to use it regular on that tool rest and I'm turning it to do a bead, that sharp edge is going to make an indent into the tool rest. And what we do now is we get an oil stone and take that corner off, and you might see where I've just done it a little bit there. But the manufacturers have now cottoned onto it, and what they're doing is they're bringing these out. If you can pick that up, that is nicely rounded, and that is much better.
Okay.
And of course there is another one where they brought the one out and actually it's oval, which is nice, but the only thing is that this is a thinner tool and it doesn't always suit what you want to do on the job. There is another one actually, and that is a round tool. It's actually round, the same. The only thing is that it's quite a bulky tool on that. I'm not really keen on that one, but it does roll on the tool rest on there. So I'm going to use the 1/2 inch one with the round edge on there, and normally if you try and start on that, you're liable to do a catch. So it's best to start and go outwards on that. Again, we put the edge of the tool on the tool rest the back end onto the wood, and then gradually raise it up so that it will start to cut.
So when rubbing the back edge,
Pardon?
so the rubbing of the back edge, the sort of this rubbing of the bevel
Yeah.
part is what a
Yeah.
lot of demonstrators refer to,
Yes.
rubbing the bevel, and that's what we're talking about.
Yes. Rubbing it on there so that until it starts to cut. Can you see that now, how smooth that is as against?
Yeah.
That is quite a good finish on that. So we've got that out of the way. Now we can come the other way. Again, laying on there, rub the back edge on, and
Are you presenting the chisel straight onto the work, or are you going at an angle?
I'm going at an angle on that. As you see, it's at a slight angle. What you do is that you juggle it about until it would start to cut.
Yeah.
That's the secret of it on that. And if you notice, I've got my finger there, holding the tool and just bringing it along. But once you get it cut in, and you've got all them set up, now that is for this size work. If that was a bigger diameter, the problem would then be is that you're going to be like that. So what I would do is lift the tool rest above the centre line so that I'm more straight onto it. It would be on a bigger one.
So is this more of a, what I'm sort of referring to as a planing cut?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on that. Now then, we've got the pattern and I want to divide it. And that's where this comes in. This, they always used to tell you, you put little pins in to mark it, and the problem with them is that if that isn't parallel, they don't all mark. This I made many years ago, and I've just kept it. What I do now is I make these with little saw cuts in, and as the work spins round, I hold that there, and the pencil just sits into them, so that if that isn't parallel, it will still give me the marks. I'll show you what we mean by I want to get them marked there. They're not too bad because there's only two separate. It'll be when I come to them that will have problems, and with the calipers. Them beads are a bit shorter. It's that one. That's that one. We use the parting tool on there. That's that one. very good stopping away these times.
I'm dead impressed, John.
I think I've done it wrong way round actually. You notice again the finger there, following it through. Again, we follow off on the lathe. If you notice, this time I was a bit different, but I've still got my hand against that to rub it up against.
Is it fair to say, John, you always go off the piece of wood onto off the end? You don't go join the end?
Yeah, we go off there because if you could catch it there,
Yeah.
and if you're not experienced, you catch it on there. Again, you might say, why have I planed it off? For the simple reason that I want them. And yeah, we've got that right. Now that these specify where the beads want to be, and where that's the beads, and where that wants to be. There.
Okay.
Okay. So put that up. It's done it this time. They're all marked, but you can see where the gap comes.
Okay, yeah.
It lines it up on that. Right. So disregard that. Now, let's see. What we want to do now is the beading. So what we have to do, again, that goes on there, and using the point of the tool, that goes in, and we just cut a little bit off, like a bead. Then we turn it over, and what we call the heel, that goes on there. And the thing about when you're cutting with the heel like that is that you don't want to be sort of greedy and take too big. You want small pieces or thin pieces coming off. The problem is, if you start trying to take a big piece off, you're pushing harder, and that's when you're liable to make a mistake. So we've got the beads, and we want to do the same thing. Now with this one, because we've got a shoulder there, we can't go in square. We've got to come at an angle, because that wants to be in line with that there. And again, we do so they're basically, now we've got to turn them into beads. Again, I can use this, or I can come over to using what we call a fingernail gouge. See that?
Spindle gouge. Spindle gouge.
Yeah, it's a fingernail at the end there. We can use this, and it is actually a safer tool to use, but the problem with this is we can't get right in, because we've got three beads together on there. But we can do it on this one. Again, laying it on there, the back rubbing on the wood, roll it over, bringing the tool up to get into the bottom. There we've got our. And this is where the problem starts, because we've now got a bead at the back of it and we won't be able to get the tool right to the bottom. As you see, that's not very clever. So we've used the again, just take a little bit off, roll it over, turn the point round, get into the bottom. That's this tool, and as you see, it's fairly thick, and this is where the advantage comes, where we use the oval tool, because it's nice and thin. It will get into the between the beads. Again, just taking little bits off. Little bit, rolling the tool over. And turn the point round. There we have the beads. That's the beads there. Now we want to do this bit. Again, I would use the heavier tool. Again, laying it on, holding it, nice little roll. There we have that. Not quite right. If you keep holding it and eyeing it up, to be honest, normally when I'm working, I like that to be at the front of me, so that I'm eyeing it up as we go along. Now we've got the that piece on there, and that is where it wants to be, where we see the line. You see that? Right. Again, we've got cut into there, we've got a shoulder, so I've got to move my tool rest over. What I'm going to do now is that piece. Got got a bit greedy there, started to take a bit too much off. Now we've got to do that piece. For that we use the small roughing out gouge. Just tilt it to one side so that we've got the edge coming up to the shoulder. While I'm at it, and I've got the tool in my hand, I could take that piece off. Now we want to smooth that off. On this particular tool, just stop this. On this particular tool, now if you can see the grinding marks just there, what I've done there is to take them sharp edges off. If I can show you better on this one, if we've ground on that one, we've got the sharp ridge there. You see that? And if I left that on the skew chisel, when I come down to that, down there, rubbing on that sharp edge, it would score that and mark it all the way down. Hence we take that off. You understand that? Yeah. Now we've got to do is that piece, and I don't have to do it, but if we put that pencil mark on, that gives you the centre, and you can either go with the heel and put it down, or you can go with the point. Now we want to smooth that off. The thing is, when we come down to the bottom there, you've got to lift the tool up a bit. Alright. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Can you see that mark? Will it stand out? There, that's where I just nicked it. Yeah. And that is the bit that frightens everybody with a skew chisel. But in this case it wasn't too bad because still got a little bit there. We just take a little bit more wood off. Just got a little mark there. there, but by the time we've sanded it, that won't be seen. I thought that was quite good, that actually.
Yeah.
Right, at the bottom of the stool it's rounded over. This is where you can actually make a mistake. So what we have to do is take a little bit off, at each time. There we have that bit. Okay. Now we come up to the other bit. Normally for the stool legs, I'll do them 1 inch or 25 mil. The thing about that is that if I take too much off and it fits slack, the next stool I save that leg, the next stool I do a 7/8 hole. But I'm going to leave it a bit big this time. Set the rough out with the full fit out with a roughing out out. This is where the tricky bit comes, because we want to start exactly on the edge there. So we start with the heel, the heel of the tool, and just get it on that edge. Again, the hand goes against there, nice and gently. And as we come down the sweep, we raise the tool so that it's cutting nearer the point to get round the sweep. So there we are, basically all it wants now is sanding. Right, we've now gone through the system of doing beads. So what we'll do now is the system for doing a cove, which is obviously opposite to a bead. There's several ways of doing that. One is where I forget what they call them, but they're basically a shoulder either side of the cone. And then we want the fingernail tool, again holding the fingers to the, and we take that off. And the thing with this is that we always go downhill with the grain. So what we would do is holding the tool at a 45-degree angle is to go in with the very point to start it and push it down, and we go to the bottom.
I'll move.
And then we've got to turn the tool 45 degrees the other way, come in, and as you see where it comes to start on the upturn, it's got a feathered edge, so we have to go down from the other side, take that off, and you've got a nice cove there. The only thing now is that we're left, they're going to be rough, so use the skew chisel and just give it a little nick there, bring it round. I don't know if it will show on the film. No, it's not showing, but that one is, well, you can feel the difference where it's nice and smooth. So we'll just do the other side. Of course the thing is now we've got that, we could make that into a bead. Again, the taking small piece. That's basically, yeah. We can do a cove directly in. You might have a problem like that. So you've got to make sure that you get that point in first. Again, the very point. Now, when we first started, where I caught it, it's left a bad mark there. But when you're a spindle turner, the one thing you do learn is how to cover up your mistakes. And so what we do is just take the top off. And now the problem is that that one looks, so we take the other side off. That's done it nicely. And there we are, we've covered up the little mistake that we made earlier on. There is another way actually that we can do these coves, and that is that if we get a round bar and grind it at a 45-degree angle, you can actually just push it in and it makes a nice round,
It's cheating.
nice round cove. That has its advantage, that we can really get really low. Hello, has he got one?
Like that?
Yep, similar to that, yeah. But that has got the grinding on the top.
Yeah.
You don't do that because you want the round at the top, otherwise it don't give you the round at the bottom of the cove.
So is it more like a scraper or something?
It is, yes, it is
I
a
think
scraper.
Solby do some sort of a scrapery type.
Yeah,
thing for
actually,
doing.
yeah, Solby
do
and they do make one,
Yeah.
a tool, and what that means is that whereas we're limited to the depth we can go with this tool because of the width of the tool.
Yeah.
You won't get that in either way. But with that tool, because the sides are round, you can push it right in and you can go right down. Yeah, yeah. But even so, you're still restricted with that there. And if you had the round bar ground, you can go right down. See, because that. Well, I was naughty there, wasn't I, moving it? Yeah. That is a similar thing to what you would use. But as I say, some really small ones, I did some pieces on a chess set and they was really fine coves, and I used a hobo nail, a masonry nail, and ground it, and it did it brilliant.
The other thing I've seen, obviously you've been using the skew chisel, the point tool, can you use that?
3-point.
Yeah, 3-point.
A 3-point tool. Yeah. Yeah, that one. I find that actually quite good if you want to use it as a shear.
That might be a better one, John. That might be sharper.
So it's almost like a safer skew.
There's
a couple of things I've done where I don't go anywhere near it with the skew chisel because I just know I'm going to knock it up. But safer with that, I can get in there and do what I need to do. And
yeah, with this type of tool, you can use it as a scraper, a skew chisel. And the beauty of it, because it's got 3, if it don't work quite right on one, you see how it cuts a nice fine. On that, yeah.
But for going for like doing a V cut, you can use it. Same sort of idea.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you do a nice little V.
Nice little V without any.
With no hassle. Mind you, you can do that with a skew. You just lay it flat, turn it over, and go the other way.
Yeah.
On that. Yeah.
Yeah. Heavy. Excellent. Cool. Thank you, John.